Welcome back, everyone, to Tony and Tina's Wedding, Creating a Theater Tribe. I'm Larry.
I'm Gret.
And I'm Concetta. Today's episode is extra special. We're talking to the original stars who brought the most dynamic duo to life, Dominic and Donna.
That's right. We're thrilled to welcome James Altuner, who played the unforgettable Dominic Fabrizzi, and Elizabeth Dennehy, our original Donna Marsala.
Like the chicken.
Enjoy. Well, I am so happy today to be able to bring on two old friends and people who were involved in this project before I was. Elizabeth Dennehy and James Altuner, who created the roles of Donna Marsala and Dominic Fabrizzi. What was it like before Carmelita's? I think that you both were involved at the Legion Hall.
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning, and I thought it's interesting, the idea of a theater tribe, because Tony and Tina's Wedding for me was an amalgam of a few theater tribes, because James and I met at Lambda. So if you studied theater, you were already used to creating a tribe wherever you are. The theater department at Hofstra University, that's where I knew Nancy and Mark and Moira and Jay and Sue. And then I went to Lambda and became besties with James and Elizabeth Herring. We all came back to New York, and then we had another theater tribe. So the Venn diagram of Hofstra, Lambda, and it all kind of coalesced with David Kaplan, this acting teacher that
Yes.
we all kind of met. That's where we met Jack Friss and Mark Campbell. And it's just so normal for us to become friends with performers and do class and then go out for drinks after and then talk about ideas and shoot the shit and come up with ideas. So we were already really used to, wouldn't you say, James, putting balls in motion and getting things going and shooting ideas. And we were also in our 20s and super young, and that's what you do when you're in the theater community already. So it was all these different worlds that came together in a really active way, very active.
Yeah, it's interesting. David Kaplan was a part of it for sure. We met people there, Lambda. I think you covered it, Hofstra. That was a different group for me, but you were part of Hofstra, right, Elizabeth? You went
Yeah.
there with, yeah. And then there were just these interesting other connections. Like over time, we were at, was it Jason's, Larry? I think that's where we met
Yes.
you. So there
At
was,
Jason's Park Royal. Yep.
yeah, and so people would just come up to us and say, "We really like what you're doing." And the group just kept growing. I remember a lot of it was Nancy's friends. And then, of course, Elizabeth Herring, who both Elizabeth and I knew, who became Sister Albert Maria. So it just kept growing. But I remember early on, it was the 80s. New York was just amazing. It was just exploding. Video was like big, and I was in the video world. And speaking of that, the first part I played actually wasn't Dominic. Joe Corcoran, the producer who became the producer
You're
later,
right. That's right.
was Mark Nasser's friend. So Mark Nasser, who is Tony, brought in his buddies because it only made sense, right, to have the groomsmen be guys that he knew. So I'm trying to remember all the names. There was Joe, there was Keith,
And they were
and
all Hofstra people.
and
Joe,
they were all Hofstra,
they were
yeah.
all from
And I
college.
was originally Jimmy the Worm, which was based on a guy I knew because I was in the video business and I was doing stuff on cable and working for various people who would bring work in, like Uncle Floyd and that whole cable network. I just thought was crazy. It
James,
was,
do you remember when
yeah.
we were doing the show at the American Legion Hall, so way before Carmelita's, and we started out just sitting around Jack Friss's apartment, shooting stories, telling stories.
Right.
Donna, I went to a wedding. One of my best friends got married, and her girlfriend sang at the wedding, at the reception. And before she hit a high note, she ripped her choker off her throat. And I was like, that's my dot. That's who I'm going to be. Just tore like Tom Jones
Yeah.
ripping off his bow tie. But we were talking in Jack Friss's apartment in East Village, Alphabet City. And I had worked at a video store, one of the summer jobs between college, and my parents made me work. And do you remember this, James? This was how we originally tried to end the wedding. I was working at Dante Tuxedos in Westbury, Long Island. And every time people would bring in the tuxedos after their weddings, I would say, how did everything go? And this one group came in and said, the wedding's annulled. I was like, what? What? It was Saturday. What happened? Well, during the wedding, when it was over, the bride's father went to get his jacket, which was hanging on the back of his chair after dancing, to get the envelope of cash to pay the reception hall, and the envelope was gone.
Oh no.
And the videographer thought to look on the video, and they caught the groom's father taking the envelope out of the bride's father jacket on the chair.
Is that where we got that whole bit?
Yes, that was a true story.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, there was a whole bit that we would actually play the video back. And I don't know, I would have some crazy line like, I got the bastard, I don't whoever, yeah, it was crazy.
Remember that?
Video came into it. And I remember when I started, I thought, oh, gee, I'd like to sort of do something different. But at that time, it was Nancy and Mark Campbell. And Mark Campbell was just really, he'd get so intense. He was like, James, we've got to do this thing. I really believe in it. And I'm like, this idea sounds crazy, and I would tell Nancy, there's so many other ideas because we were working on so many other things. Vicky, Jack Peters, the Leanne Thuna show. We were doing all these crazy good God, I'll never forget you, Elizabeth, with the Irma Bombeck bit that you
I remember that.
And Nancy did. They broke down the name Irma like they were vomiting it out, but you would hear and, they were doing this cleansing activity. And I don't know if I was leading that one as this crazy director. And anyway, they would form the words Irma, Bombeck, and it was just crazy, I remember Woody Allen's guy came down. He spoke to Nancy and he said, I don't know what to make of this. He said, I loved it, but this is crazy. And I don't think we ever heard from him again.
Probably not.
And, yeah, we were all over. Then there was Drinkas on the Lower East Side, where Mark Nasser used to do bits. I think he would go in the restroom and leave the microphone on in there and come back out and listen to what's going on in the bathroom. It was just performance art. I remember meeting Basquiat down in the East Village.
Wow.
That was before, I didn't know who he was at the time, but
yeah.
I met a lot of people. I met the Ramones, never saw them play, but met them at CBGB's. And I'd always think, oh, one day I'll go see them. And then I regretted that so badly when, I remember when they started dying, like I never saw the Ramones.
I saw the Ramones in LA with Jack Friss.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I did get to see some other bands. There was so much going on. The scene was crazy. It was so alive. And I do remember going down to a place. Do you remember this, Elizabeth? I think it was in Soho. And Mark Campbell said, look, James, why don't you be the video guy? And then we'll get a video out of it. Like you'll actually shoot it. So I was in that business and they were like, how much do you think this will cost? I'm like, well, it's not going to cost you anything. I'm doing it with you all. We'll do it together. It's whatever, the tapes, which I think I have. But I know,
please, you have to find them.
Oh,
Nancy's house burned down and she had that. She had an interesting story. I think this is true, but we were talking about what survived that fire because that fire was horrible. And I'm a first responder at this point. And I evacuated 1,700 people and I developed a smoke inhalation disorder as a result that's been with me for a year. But God, anyway, that's a whole other thing. But I seem to remember Nancy telling me that what happened was this Pali High, where she's doing theater, burned down. So I got them into University High School to do their show. And so we reconnected after all this time. And she does this thing called Friday Night Live. And it's just so much fun. The kids are awesome. And I remember her telling me that the videos were gone. But I believe I have those original videos. And I'll have to look for them. But she also told me, I think this is true, that one of the things that survived that she saw, and I could be making this up, it might be wishful thinking, but we had this photograph of her and I, she as Vicky Auberjohn and me as Jack Peters, basically sort of Judy Garland, Dean Martin, Robert Goulet, Peggy Lee. And we were just like sitting there in me in a tuxedo. It was like a promo shot. And we used to put that photo up in Tony and Tina's wedding because we had like a whole bunch of photos.
Yes.
So it would be up there. And sometimes as Elizabeth and I were leaving, Donna and Dominic, we were always fighting these crazy fights at the end. Her yelling at me, shouting at me. And everyone gathered around in the staircase. I remember one guy in the middle of it while I was having this moment with Donna, he said, hey, is that you in the picture? And I'm like, oh. But, it was interesting. There were some restaurants where that picture would pop up. But anyway, Nancy, I think, told me that photo survived. I love
I
that.
think I have that photo.
You have that photo?
James,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of my funniest favorite stories is when we were at the church and we're on the receiving line. So the ceremony's over, and our cardinal rule, of course, was never, ever, ever, ever break character. And we're on the receiving line, and coming down the aisle to the exit of the church is my freaking gynecologist.
I remember that because you would say, my gyno.
But I had to make a decision. It was like my doctor's name was Dr. Lewenstein, Dr. Louis Lewenstein, and he's walking towards me, and I was like, okay, got to think fast. And I see him, and I go, Dr. Lewenstein, Dominic, this is my gyno.
Yeah, I know. I nearly blurted out. That was hilarious.
Connie is pregnant, and I was like, you got to keep your eye on Connie. Connie, there's a doctor here in case you want to. And then you said,
I love that.
Did he come randomly?
He's laughing so hard. And then you said to him, hey, you and I are the only ones who knows what's going on down there.
Hey, did he come accidentally or to see you?
Just totally by coincidence. No,
that was always great. That's
why it's like before the person can come and say, I didn't know you were in this, which you don't, it's boring. It's not going to lead to anything. I had to get the jump shot and assign him, this is your role in the show.
Elizabeth, I also remember that at that time, many people would say to you, or some people would say to you, you look like Glenn Close.
Oh,
and you would
get that a lot. Yeah.
Who is he?
Who's he? Thanks a lot. So I get that in my life all the time ever since the Big Chill, and I'm just going to say it drives me crazy. I've had people say to me, you should be her stand-in. As if I'm going to be like, oh, what a great idea. It drives me crazy. So I had to come up with a stock answer for that.
I remember you were so wonderful to work with, Elizabeth, but she really helped me to shape Dominic, because when I started creating Dominic, it was very different from what Joe did, because let's face it, it was basically Mark Nasser and his friends. And they weren't actors, but they were good. Loved Joe Corcoran. But when I stepped in to do Dominic, I had to create something else. I mean, I had to create something. So my idea was like a cross between Sonny Corleone and Jerry Lewis in The Nutty Professor. I'll never forget, one night this guy came up to me and he said, hey, you know who you are? And I said, I know who I am. Who the fuck are you? And he's like, doing our little thing. And he's like, no, I'm serious, man. You're like a cross between Sonny Corleone and The Nutty Professor. And I thought, that's exactly what I wanted. It kind of cracked me up.
Nailed it.
But I love the Glenn Close thing, because Elizabeth Donna would do this whole thing of who's he. And I decided to play along with him, pull the guy along and said, you telling me my girlfriend looks like a guy? Who is you? What is this?
That is one of my favorite things that has survived about Donna and Dominic, is that from start to finish, they could be at each other's throats at any given moment, right? But if anybody attacks any one of them, the two of them team up and are like this amazing team, and we'll just when you guys were creating these roles, like, I always think of Donna and Dominic as, among everyone, they're really big, they're really large, they're very passionate in everything that they do, Donna with her music and Dominic with his business, or loving Tony, or whatever it may be, How did you guys decide on this like quarrelsome couple?
I think I would say everybody would give you probably the same answer. Everything evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was a Madonna wannabe, which I was, with the black bracelets and the earrings and Madonna wannabe, my boyfriend was going to be my #1 fan. So I assigned him a role. So for instance, when the band is playing I've Had the Time of My Life, we are totally going to do the Dirty Dancing dance. And I swear to God, James, I was just sitting here thinking, I probably sucked face and made out with you more than any other man in my entire life.
Yes. Again, I'm so appreciative to Elizabeth, because for me, to answer your question, what happened is originally we found a space in Soho. I forget how we got it, but do you remember this, Elizabeth? We would go there, and I decided, Mark was asking me, I don't know how to do this. And I said, look, I think what we do is, I thought of Penny Cherns, our director, and Caroline Eves.
Yes.
So I said, what we do is we create episodes, and each episode is one photograph with a caption in a newspaper. So we would try to just work towards that image where the photographer goes poof, you know. In other words, Tina and Tony make up, Dominic and Donna, whatever, get into an argument. Donna sings, but we tried to create all these, in my mind, it was create these vignettes. I think that's what we called them. And through the vignette,
Tableaus.
Yeah.
Tableaus, thank you. That's the word.
Our Brechtian classical training is showing.
That's right. And also David Kaplan, he had this technique, which was, I think, world of the play. But what he would encourage me to do sometimes is just become somebody else, like an actor. So that would just help. In other words, take your work and filter it through somebody else. So for me, with Donna, a lot that just would pop up is James Caan as Sonny. I've always loved that growing up, you know, as an immigrant family. When I first saw The Godfather, I was like, oh, wow, this is basically us, except without the money and power. And I just thought Talia Shire and James Caan, you know, when they would fight, I thought that's it. That's Donna and Dominic to me. So I put that filter in of that. And I was concerned at first because what I did was I put on a scar for a while, which I left, but I really wanted to get this guy who would make you very uncomfortable, but always sort of welcoming you in. But I was astonished how many people love to be abused. You know, we would just sometimes treat people like, "Hey, get the hell out of my face!" Huh? You know, make up some story. Where's my $50 anyway? You still owe me for, you know, the day the Knicks beat the, you know, whatever it was. People would just laugh and just jump in there and put their arms around you. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. People do respond to this, and I guess it's also the beginning of a lot of that fella stuff. You know, that fascinating sort of post-Godfather era. Italian American. You don't want to get lost in all the mob stuff because there's so much more to Italian culture. Right. And I remember the Knights of Columbus served us a defamation letter.
They did.
You know, we try to explain to them, no, this isn't what it's about. And Nancy's like, I'm Italian. They did. I kept trying to tell them, like, look, people love this. It's part of the culture. But I always wanted to be respectful.
And I think that letter, or somehow a letter, also came from an Italian American society, from like a senator or somebody at that time.
That's right.
Yeah, there was some very powerful political person that, I don't know, wrote us a letter and then nothing ever happened with it. It was somebody who was a big deal complaining about our attack on the Italian American community, and just like, it's a play. And Italians don't even think we're doing it justice. They think we should do more.
Right.
Yeah. Right. For a while, we couldn't keep actors because they were getting cast on The Sopranos. There were a few that came my way.
Right.
You know, I was like, what is this, man? I mean, everyone else is getting the job except us.
But I think that the thing about this world is that they are, in the world of the play, if you say 1 is the bottom of the food chain, 10 is the top of the food chain, these are all 2, 3s, and 4s. Pretending to be 10s.
That's right.
I'm starting around as if I'm a 10. And that's what I think is so touching and moving and funny about them.
Yeah. Well, the both of you really made these characters incredibly iconic in your own way, because every company, no matter where they are, portrays these characters as you two created them. And while they did reflect society and who people were at that time, they were different because they were an amalgamation, you know, that was, you, as you say, James, taking this person and that person, Elizabeth talking about all these different ways that you were affected. But no matter where I go and direct it, of course, I always direct based on the original company, but eventually there's Elizabeth Herring up there doing her shtick. Okay, so that's like, you would see that they're doing that. And I also thought that these were, in a way, 2 of the most innocent characters, because Donna really, I think, had more dreams than anybody.
She's a dreamer. And I think
made her different.
The thing about Donna is that, yes, she wants to be like Tina and have the wedding, but she also wants to go to Hollywood and be a big star and be in music videos. And maybe if she sings at the wedding, she'll be discovered. And so it's very heartfelt. And one of the things I think that you can live and breathe and grow in a 360-degree world when the job is not to be funny 100% of the time, but to be real.
Yeah.
And so because we were real people, I would talk to people and say, oh my God, there was a guy on my shift at the Barefoot Peddler, which is an actual restaurant in Port Washington, Long Island. And I would be talking to people. I would go up to people and say, who's sexier, Marilyn Monroe or Madonna? And people would fall on the floor dying laughing. And I was just asking the question. If I had to be funny for 3 hours a night, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're living and breathing, and then that's where the evolution happens, where we didn't start out doing those huge makeup sessions with me coming up for air and blowing a huge bubble and then turning into his face and getting the bubble all over him. That all evolved. That all evolved over time.
And the Cheetos.
Was that me?
What's the Cheetos?
You'd be dancing with Dominic, and then over his shoulders, you'd have this open little bag of Cheetos, and you'd like be eating the Cheetos.
Excuse me. I was doing the diet. I was doing that. What was that crazy diet I was doing?
Oh, like Atkins or something?
Atkins, yes.
Oh, no, it was
before Atkins?
No, it was the one where you'd eat one fruit and like pineapple all day.
Oh, yes.
So when we started doing Tony and Tina's Wedding, I would eat the ziti, I would drink the champagne, and then I got on a soap opera. I was on the Guiding Light. I think I was doing the wedding, and then I got the soap, where I could not gain weight. I could not eat ziti every night. So I would bring a big Tupperware, and I said to Nancy, I'm sorry, but I have to eat something, and I'm not eating this. I can't eat this I have to fit into like these really svelte suits in the morning. And so I have a very funny story. So you eat a different fruit every day, and then you evolve into this salad. And it was Michael Winter. I'm singing, and the salad was a leek salad. And we're saying, love will lift us up where I belong. And he goes like this, because my backwards, my breath for the salad, and then we're singing and we're cracking up because I realized that my breath was choking him.
I did want to say that for me, it was interesting, like a filter. I really appreciate working with Elizabeth, because for me, like English wasn't my first language, right? It was my third language. And when I was growing up and even doing the show, I always wanted to sort of be part of this American matrix, which I viewed through looking back on it now, like a sort of wannabe lens, and be sort of one of the guys, so to speak, and be accepted. But I felt a sort of otherness and a differentness because of my background. But a lot of the cultural references they were going on around me, I just wasn't part of, even though I was in the video business. Like for me, Dirty Dancing was just a movie that we were selling or renting. I had to get the product out, it was a business. And I never even saw the film, except every now and then it would play in the background at the shop. And I'd go, oh, I get it. Okay, Patrick Swayze. Yeah, okay, I get it. He does these moves. I get it. Okay, yeah. I can see how we can do this. But I love that Elizabeth would just drive this thing with me. And so I had to dance, and we would create these bits. And I think the genius of it for me was we became together like this dancing duo that just didn't know how to really dance, but we gave it everything we could give, And over time, I think we both got better and better at it, but we never really practiced the steps, right? We would just do it in the show. And I remember some of my favorite bits were just like taking Elizabeth around the room and just throwing her butt up against some guy's face while we were grinding. And you would see that whole table just looking at each other, like spitting out food, And I'd just be sitting there with this like smirk, like just going away at it and doing this dirty dancing thing. But I was doing it because Dominic loved Donna and she loved Dirty Dancing. So I had to be Patrick Swayze and just try to do my best. But I will share a story. We were in LA and Faye Dunaway came. So I thought, oh my God, Faye Dunaway, God, so beautiful. And so I asked her to dance because we would do that whole dancing thing. And I had gotten pretty good. My dad was really a great dancer, like a waltzer, and I used to watch him. So at that point now, it's like 2-3 years into the show, I was pretty good. And I kind of felt like, yeah, I'm sort of lifting Faye Dunaway off her feet. And at the end of it, she said, whew, she said, thank you. That was really nice. And I was like, oh, wow. I just kind of lost myself and was basically all over Faye Dunaway. And then later on, we're talking, And we had LAPD as our security, and they would come along and do this whole bit with us. And I get into this argument with this guy, and Donna on cue with the music would come up behind me and start tapping me on my shoulder. And I would be doing some business with some guy. And the joke of it was I would turn around and go, "What the fuck do you want?" You know, something like really big. And Donna would just like say something innocuous. So I assumed it was Elizabeth tapping on my shoulder, but no, it was Faye Dunaway. And I turned around and I screamed whatever at her, you know, this moment, and everyone just gasped. And she looked at me and she was taken aback and she said, "You know, one more dance?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that is like my favorite story."
Oh my God,
one more dance.
beautiful.
Oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
I was so starstruck when she was there because she's one of the major role models for me, made me want to be Bonnie and Clyde. Like, if she'd never done anything other than Bonnie and Clyde and Chinatown and Network, she would be legend, right?
Right.
I couldn't even go near her because Donna is very confident and very cool and doesn't care who you are and will talk to anybody. I knew I was not going to be able to speak if I was near her. Yeah, I just stayed away.
Yeah, that was one of the great things, some of the interactions with just all kinds of people, you know, whether they were famous or not. Do you remember the night, he should remain nameless, but do you remember the night, Elizabeth, you came up to me and told me somebody had poured a drink on your head?
Was that the hockey player?
It was a baseball player, but we probably shouldn't name him. Yeah, famous guy.
And I said to him, "Do you think we're in a fucking petting zoo?"
So I went up to Tony and Johnny and all the guys, and I said, "All right, we got," because you know that a large part of it was audience control, Larry. I mean, I think we came up with a magic number of 20-1. That was kind of the maximum. And Joe was the producer, and he had to always deal with the bottom line numbers. But we would explain we can't have more people than we can manage because every now and then something happens, and we got to do this audience control.
Well, that was tough. It was tough the larger the groups that came. And these two, well, probably Concetta's probably done the show for audiences of 400 people or more.
Yeah, the biggest one we did was we were in Canada, and no, that was 2000. I mean, it was this massive, massive hall, and they opened up the other side, and there were cameramen walking around, and I like went to sip, you know, your fake beer, and I went to sip the beer, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and it was me on like 100-foot screen, and I was like, "What the hell? This is
Donna would love.
But you know, it is a certain thing. Part of the magic is getting face to face with the audience, right? That's like the whole specialness of that performance. I think that is like anything else. And those kind of numbers, I was trying my damnedest too. I was playing Tina and I was running back and forth, but it misses a little bit.
Without our stage managers,
oh, forget it.
The Teresa Hagars.
Oh my God.
And the people of the world who would really come out and just say, you know, "I'll kick your ass if you do that to one of our actors again."
That's what happened with the guy who poured the drink on Elizabeth's head, you know. We would have these interesting moments where you go up and talk in character, like, "Hey, Tony, I got to talk to you about something." We'd almost develop this sixth sense. It would be the same with our security. The LAPD off-duty policemen were so wonderful. They would love acting with us, but there would have to sometimes be what we called an asshole alert. We had to like let people know, "Hey, table 5. But I remember we all got together and we went up to this baseball player. And I remember, I think I had a line. I said to him something like, "You know, Joe Garagiola always said you were an asshole. I didn't believe him, but you are." We gathered around that guy and we gave him what force, you know, in so many languages, in character, as well as with the sort of stage manager presence. "You do not do this again. You do not do this again. All right. Now go apologize to her." I don't know if he did, but we had to have these moments where we protected each other, particularly not to make it gender based. I mean, it could be the same as a man, but particularly the women in the cast, because there was alcohol served and people would come in, and sometimes people get a little nutty, and sometimes people would come in with a particular filter. "I'm going to come into this show tonight and I'm going to be the star as an audience member. I'm going to take over and I'm going to do some crazy stuff." So that was always interesting, managing that.
It must have been very hard for Nunzio's girlfriend. What's the character's
Madeline.
name?
Yeah, we had to protect her a lot, Leila.
Yeah.
And also Jenny Moreau was also doing.
Jenny was there.
So
I also think that the audiences were experiencing something that they had never experienced before. Today, the majority of people have been to something interactive or something where they talk to an actor or where they're present in that way. But at that time, audiences had never done that. And so I think that generally audiences were learning as well, and they could only learn through our guidance. You to say you can go this far, but you can't go any further.
One of the things that we used to talk about a lot, and I don't know if subsequent companies, I'm sure you did, because I can't imagine any other way to keep control, is a 3-ring circus. And even in a 3-ring circus, the center ring is where you throw focus. So for instance, we were always like, oh my God, is Michael drinking? Telling the story, making sure the audience doesn't miss what's happening in the center ring. Otherwise, the ending doesn't really make any sense. And it just brings me back to that whole thing about the video, what we were trying to have the ending of Tony and Tina's wedding be. And do you remember, James, I think the reason we discarded that ending was it was like, the ending has to be about Tony and Tina. That's the name of the show. The stealing, the money, the video.
Yeah, it was just business. Yeah.
And it was too dependent on technology working, which is really at that time too scary. And so I think Mark wrote that speech, it's you and me. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that was the perfect end.
The perfect end. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, the video was an interesting lens because it also would help point people where to go, where to look. Because when I was doing the video, and then when I became Dominic later, I was telling whoever stepped in to do video, and also the photographer, Vince Floriani, they would serve a real important visual cue for the audience. It's like, here's where the camera's pointing, here's where we're looking at. And people would leave a side conversation and go, that would help to steer people to what we're watching at that point to make sure that we were on track.
Everybody was in tune.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's something that's come up in a lot of conversations about why the original cast and subsequent casts are it concretes you as a group, because what other theatrical experience do you physically have to watch out for each other the entire time? I mean, it's very, very rare that there is that element within that theatrical experience that we're literally watching each other's backs. I mean, the whole time, not just as an actor, but physically.
I'm dying to ask a question. It's James, but also both of you. Was there a moment ever, James, do you remember ever totally cracking up? Like another actor did an improv, said a line, and you completely lost it? Like you dropped your character and just broke?
That's interesting. I remember having that effect on other people, but I don't remember doing that. I think largely because we had these inside jokes. And it's really terrible to say Nancy would kill us because Nancy was always about being in character 100%. But sometimes you'd step outside of character. But I remember for a moment, just to survive, because we're like going on a year, I remember Vince, Flory, and I used to have these Star Trek moments where we would, just an aside where nobody's watching, like have a conversation about Star Trek. But I remember one day he looked at me and he goes, "What's a quatlu?" And I looked at him and I said, "That's a form of intergalactic currency on the planet." I just started like losing it. But yeah, I'm sure I have. But I remember like just a lot of it. I think I enjoyed more making other people laugh so much more than laughing myself. But I do remember having that impact on Jack. What about you? Did you have that
moment? One of my favorite moments was, and you were there, when we were in Carmelita's, you'd go down a flight of stairs and then another flight of stairs. So you could be at the top of these two flights with audience members all between you. And this was late in the run. It was late in the run. And Connie, Moira, is shouting across all these people up to the top of the stairs to me. And she's like, "We're going over to Connie's house and we're going in the hot tub." And she turns her back over my shoulder. "You're not going in my hot tub." And I'm like, she's never done this before because we were all leaving the wedding and going into Harry and Connie's hot tub. I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Of course I'm going in your hot tub. Connie's just between us. Snapping hair. I told you, you're not going in my hot tub." I was like, "What the fuck, Dominic? What is she talking about? Why can't I go in your hot tub?" "Because you have a yeast infection."
Oh God, the yeast infection. Yes.
I swear to God, I think I buried my face in your shoulder. I died. I absolutely died. And of course, Donna is not laughing. Donna is not thinking this is funny. That Moira was so fucking funny. And then that stayed in. I don't know if it's in the script, but it was just so hilarious. And then we would go on and on, just back and forth.
It isn't in the script. I do remember that. And I remember, yeast infections, but I don't.
My God.
No, I'll tell you though, they still do the improv at the end, like when after La Familia, the picture and everything, and you're walking out. Everybody, we're going back to Barry's. We're going in the hot tub. Like that stayed, but the rest of it did not.
Oh, so funny. I
When
lost
you play Connie, you know what to use now.
I was gonna say some material.
another time. Do you remember? I did this thing, and I don't know if we always did it, but me and Elizabeth Herring got into a fight. I don't know what Sister Albert Maria and I were fighting about. I think we were cousins, and we were always teasing each other. She was like, "Oh, you think you're so cool," and we did this thing where I would take her by her veil and drag her around the room. She would hold on to it, and like I used to do with my sisters, follow your hair, follow your hair, follow your hair. I would with her veil, and then one day it came off.
Yes.
She and I both looked at each other. We were like,
Well, it's because Sister was in love with Dominic.
Yeah.
is that what it was?
Oh, yeah, that was.
They had had kind of a thing when she was young. I don't think anybody ever really knew if it was sex or not, but she was totally in love with him.
Is that why she went into the nunhood?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, partially at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also why she comes to the wedding, is because she wants to make sure before her final vows that she isn't in love with him any longer.
I forgot all
Now, and that's all in the character breakdowns in the script.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting how real world, like Elizabeth Herring and I were boyfriend, girlfriend at that time. So she used that piece of it. And yeah, she would be very smitten throughout the whole show. And it's interesting, like these little bits that would come up. I remember it would be really uncomfortable because she would be talking to me while Donna's by my side, and she's like, "Here's a nun in front of you, like, oh, hi, Dominic." And you can see her kind of attracted, and the audience would pick up on it. And I get really uncomfortable. I go, "Oh, yeah, hey, Terry, how you doing? Good to see you again. How's everything in the coven?" And she goes, "The convent." And I go, "Or the whatever." I'm like, right, the convent. Yeah. So we'd have these little moments that we did throughout the show as it developed. But yeah, that was, I think, an interesting side beat that was there. And it's also interesting that some people wouldn't even pick up on it. It would be your interpretation of the show, what you saw, what you got out.
Yeah, I think that it was important for resolution for Donna, because then Donna would go up and sing her songs. And I know whatever was going on between Sister and Dominic, Donna was told not to see that, because really Donna just would have walked off of the stage and just gone after Sister. So
Right.
there was a lot of heavy stuff going on between those three people.
Yeah. And it's interesting how those things developed over time, you know, the various relations. But it's an interesting question about losing it or laughing. And I think partly with Dominic, there was that sort of Jerry Lewis side to him. So this sort of moment where he could go from like just the meanest gorilla in the world, or my perception of what a mean gorilla looks like, to just the nicest guy, you know? And I think if I did find myself laughing, I could just make it about Dominic. I could just filter Dominic into the laughter so that it seemed genuine. And the reason I say that is, for a while I played Tony because I think Mark Nasser had to leave. And I was Tony for a while. And I was really struck by the difference. Like being Tony, I didn't feel that same sense. You had to really, really be on. And you really are sort of the MC. And I was struck by that part of it, about how much you had to work the crowd in a different way.
Yeah, Nasser was so great because
Yeah,
it
he was
was not a
amazing.
showy role, really. And he would always go to the outside of the room and bring those people in during the times when he had to give Tina the stage. I always respected his choice for that.
Yes, but it's a very interesting filter. It's probably just because it was new and stressful, but I found it more serious. Like that you had a different responsibility as Tony that, you know, I think with Dominic, I could just disappear, but with Tony, you really couldn't. You could never really disappear.
Could be on the sidelines, you know.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question to Elizabeth, and that is, what were the first Donna Marsala songs?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Well, it always was Desperado. I'm going to say Tina's favorite song, Desperado, was always that. But then I think the songs changed because we kept changing the lip sync song, because when we started, it was Cold Hearted Snake. No, we started.
Love is a Battlefield.
Love is a Battlefield.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Love is a Battlefield, and we did the whole Pat Benatar dance. But then it kind of fell out of vogue, and it was like these girls would be doing what's the
Bad.
So Cold-Hearted Snake, we kept up with a,
Right.
I am not a dancer. So I remember I flew from Rochester, New York to LA, and we opened like the next day, and I had to learn the choreography for Cold-Hearted Snake like that day. So it's really crazy. The songs were
They were about love, and I'm trying to remember what the very
they were
original.
always Donnie Dolce duets.
I know that you did the song, I think, from Beaches for a long time.
Wind Beneath My Wings.
Wind Beneath My Wings, yeah.
Wind Beneath My Wings.
That was the dance.
Dollar Dance.
Kia wrote a bunch of songs
That's
that were in the show, and she wrote them because we couldn't get the rights to a certain group of songs. And so Kia kind of wrote the Kia version of that song. But Heaven Made Love, until a few years ago, we used that song.
I just remembered. I couldn't think of it. Almost Paradise.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I also remembered it was the Beverly Hills Diet by Judy Maisel. Remember that?
And you would bring that stuff into the show too, because Donna was on that diet too, right?
Exactly. But I would tell people about it. You got to get the book. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Yes. I remember dancing as well as we could. And I only saw Dirty Dancing for the first time really in its entirety this year. And I was like, oh my God, I thought of you and I thought, this is hilarious. All these years, I never watched this movie. I just kind of used the snippets that worked for me and left it at that. And watching the movie, it kind of made me reconnect and remember that over time, we just became the best, worst dancers we could possibly be. But the same thing happened with you, Elizabeth, singing, because I remember in the beginning with Michael Winther, there was a whole thing of like, Donna's good, but she's not that good. And it was kind of like a wink, wink. She's never going to really make it, but I love her anyway. And I hope she makes it, but I don't know, whatever, I support it, that kind of thing. But over time, you guys got really good. I mean, what are you going to do? You're rehearsing this every day, basically,
Right.
I remember once watching you guys and I'm like, this isn't bad. These two are great. You had like stage presence. You were bouncing
and the hand movements. They were very.
You guys are going, you're too good. You're too good. You got to.
What was really, really lovely looking back is I loved going there and loved working with James. I loved working with Elizabeth. Michael, just thinking about Michael and Tony just makes me smile, makes my heart smile.
Yeah.
Just that safety you feel, like him going, your fucking breath, that's salad. I mean, it was just so his eyes when I came up with it.
Michael had some good ones.
So many funny stories. And those two, their voices, oh my God, they were dreams. The band was great.
Yeah, they were amazing. Yeah,
they got great. Yeah.
Well, I have a question because expenses over time, especially on tour and stuff, there's not usually a band. It's not a live band. It's karaoke tracks.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, did you ever work with karaoke tracks or was it always live musicians every time?
You guys always worked with live.
Super jealous.
The first time that I think we went to karaoke was in Las Vegas. Right, Gret?
Yeah, I mean, when I started in 2005, we had a band for many years, but I think it was in one of the moves to a different property. When it moved, they said, well, we can do it, but we can't do the band.
It had its own particular problems. I never liked it because the fluidity of the band really made it seem so present.
Yeah.
I have an interesting scenario now. So I'm an educator and a principal of a high school, and we have a thriving theater program, and they're doing Mary Poppins, and it's a big show, but it's gotten pushed because it's so big and sets were donated. So the fall show is going to be in February. And the director has talked to me about this for some time. He knows Nancy and he's part of the LA theater scene, but he's like, let's do Tony and Tina's wedding. I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's crazy.
You should.
I'm in this interesting position of being a principal, and I get along with all the theater kids real well. And so we're thinking about that. And that suddenly that crossed my mind. Like, what would we do for music? How do we clean this up? I know there are high school productions of it. So that would be a thrill to do that. We'll see. I really hope it happens. Who knows? Maybe I can play Nunzio.
It's done a lot for high schools and colleges because of the size of the cast. You can dumb some of that stuff down, though, because this show culturally has gone through, in the beginning, there was so many drugs. And then, society kind of moved towards drugs weren't cool. And then when you're in a casino, we couldn't even talk about drugs.
No, that was crazy.
There were rules.
So crazy.
That
the audience was hella talking about drugs. I mean, let's talk about that. But we couldn't.
We were not allowed to promote. It was the rules of the casino, and the show has been done at lots of casinos.
An interesting side story on that is she died recently, right? Catherine O'Hara.
Yes.
So she was lovely. She came to see the show, and I remember just being in awe of her. But I do remember, you have these painful moments, and one of them was with Catherine O'Hara. She came to see the show, and I remember coming up to her in character and just said something like, "Hey, so how's it going?" I don't know. I probably was pretending she was my cousin or something. And she pulled me aside, and she basically said she was liking the show. So she decided to answer it as an actress and give me a critique, which I loved. And she said, the drugs, it's too much. Too much.
Oh, interesting.
And I felt like, yeah. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm having the actor. But I did appreciate that feedback, as conservative as it was. But yeah, she was lovely. And it's interesting, some of the people that we met along the way who are no longer here.
An exchange with David Lee Roth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We were doing the show in LA, and it was crazy, the people that came to see it. Zelda Rubinstein from,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
She was a groupie.
She loved Jay. Oh, my God. She loved Uncle Louie.
But David Lee Roth was there, and I had a former boyfriend who I was no longer with, but still his younger brother, Chris, my boyfriend, Matt Croak, I don't know if you remember, James, and his little brother, Chris, worshipped David Lee Roth. And this is Donna during the show. I've got to get his autograph, but how can I do it? And so I go up to him and I just said, "Oh, I have a little cousin who lives back home in Queens, and he worships you. He loves you. He's had a little struggle with his life and drugs. Could you do?" And I did it in character and got his autograph.
Yes.
David Lee Roth was wonderful. He was big at that time. He had that video with Just a Gigolo and coming off of Van Halen. And he invited a group of us, Mark Nasser and me. We all went out with David that night. And he took us to the... What's that?
Where was I?
Well, he took us to a strip club. We came into this place, and he was the most gregarious, just sweet guy. I mean, laughing all the time. It was like the show continued. He just wanted us to be not necessarily in character, but just keep that sort of East Coast vibe going on the West Side. But yeah, I remember he said, "Oh, guys, I want you to meet my girlfriend. Here she comes, Delia, Penthouse Playmate of the Year. Delia, get over here." And we're all just sitting there. Wow, this is pretty cool. Welcome to LA.
On stage? Was she on stage?
She was on stage.
Wow.
She was like the premier performer. It had her name up there.
And this was his girlfriend. How fabulous.
Yeah. I hope these stories don't come back to bite me.
Listen, we've been here for almost an hour, and I just want to say thank you so much to both of you.
So nice. Is just talking is bringing back the memories. I was this morning trying to think of things, but then when you brought up, I totally forgot that Joe Corcoran was the first Dominic and not an actor. And I remember when we were in the American Legion Hall, and I took a tampon and I put it in his breast pocket. I was like, "You cool with that?" And he was like, "Just." That might have really kind of set the Dominic Donna thing. You're my lapdog. You're my you're my dude. And if you want some, you're gonna do it.
It just reminded me of one thing, which I think speaks to the greatness of the show. When we were at the Legion Hall, that was a veterans organization, and we rented it and we did the wedding. We would come and rehearse. And I remember there was this guy, I forget his name. He was an older guy and short and running around. He was the manager of the place. And he goes, okay, you guys need to rehearse. Yeah. But he thought it was all too much. So we did the wedding, and he's in that video, and he just had the time of his life, this guy. I mean, he was Italian. He loved it. And he was doing all kinds of dances, had the best time. I remember him waving goodbye to us. We all left. And then the next day, Sunday, I came back there, and I was one of the early ones. I might have been there with Nancy, and we're coming in. And there he is, the old guy who runs the place. He goes, "What are you doing here?" And we said, "We're here for the wedding." He goes, "The wedding was yesterday." And I said, "Yeah, it was yesterday, but it's also today." He goes, Wait. He looks at Nancy, I can't remember who exactly was there. "What, you're getting married again?" And I'm like, he thinks it's a show. Goes, "What?" "It's a play." And I remember he looked like his head was going to explode. And I was like, we got something here. We got something here.
I never heard
Yeah.
Or if
Anyway, thank you both so much. Appreciate this.
Take care.
guys.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so
Nice
much.
meeting you both.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
In this episode's Pictures for the Album segment, Larry chats with Carolyn and Patrick Hill. Enjoy.
Well, hello there, Carolyn and Patrick. So wonderful to see you. The two of you have been part of this tribe for many, many years. When did you begin?
I auditioned for you for the Kansas City show, summer of '94.
And the tour was 96. I was on tour before him, 96 or 97, the Broadway Nationals tour.
And then, Patrick, I remember that on the last rehearsal, whoever the Aunt Rose was, somehow she got knocked over and broke her leg. Do you remember that?
I'm the one that broke her leg. Yeah, and it wasn't a rehearsal. It was our preview. It was our preview. It was our preview. And it was the big fight at the end. And Dominic was supposed to run across the stage and help Nunzio, who fell over. And I had my blinders on, and she crossed. She never crossed before, ever, at that point. And I didn't see her, but I ran right into her. And it wasn't just any bone. I think I broke her femur.
Oh, Lord.
I think I broke
I know it was tough because she didn't come back to the show, I don't think. But
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
It's why in that blocking, in that last moment, I used to always say to people, if you're not supposed to move, don't move.
She never was there before. I should have seen her. But I was looking at Nunzio, and I was being Mr. Method guy. And I didn't see her. Yeah. And not only did I not see her, I didn't know I did it. I just know that she was on the floor. And then Kevin Albert goes, good job. You just broke her leg.
And Carolyn, one of my fondest memories is when that guy in Florida who was playing the priest fell and ended up with his face right in your lap. Do you remember that?
Yep, I sure do. And I remember catching your eye right after that happened, and we both just cracked up across the floor from each other. It was very funny.
Really funny.
It was pretty creative of him, but I was shocked. It was very funny. One thing I remember about Fort Lauderdale. Oh my God. God bless Joe Dallo, because
No. Was it Joe?
Yeah. Well, we had to read the room. We had 3 versions of the show, remember? And Joe would call it based on the audience that was there. Right. So it was A, B, and C. A was the normal version. B and C were watered down a little bit, a little more G-rated. Right. And he would go around to us and go, B, B, B. So we would share that without B, B. You'd go up to somebody and go, B, B. Okay, we got it. And C was absolutely the G-rated. Maddie had no dollar dance at all, because people, they were just older. If they could run out the door, they would have run, I think.
They were older.
I put Carolyn on the bar one time, and she's dancing, and it's just cast members. Just me and Johnny are over there. Nobody else is over there. And she looks, and they're all lined up to get out of the door. And she goes, oh my God, if they could run, they would.
Somebody said to me, what do you remember most about the Fort Lauderdale show? And I said, the amount of oxygen tanks that were pulled in.
Yes.
I remember when we first did our first rehearsal in Cincinnati, and it was at the Armory, and they had tanks in the building. Do you remember that? We had to move the tanks out of the building.
Yes. Right. Oh God. Right. But, the tour was its own particular animal.
Yeah.
Because if not for the seasoned quality of the performers, could never have gone into these places and done it. I mean, it is people understanding to go in and to just adapt to that room.
Yes.
And not hit any ropes.
And to the people, because the people were very different depending on where we were.
Oh my God.
I mean, Lauderdale compared to Miami or Cincinnati, we love Milwaukee. We loved Milwaukee.
In Miami, the first preview in Miami, remember we had a valet service, and one guy got carjacked. that night, and the ballets didn't do anything, right? They're like, what am I supposed to do? And Miami was, it was completely different than Fort Lauderdale.
How was it to work together in Tony and Tina's Wedding as a married couple?
Some of the best years of my life were in that tour. And it wasn't until later, years after, that I realized it was an answer to a prayer, because when I was growing up, I wanted to travel. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to experience all these things and places, but I never wanted to be a tourist. I wanted to live in a place long enough so that I could get to know everybody, know the places, whatever. And lo and behold, I'm thinking, wow, that's what happened. And what I loved about being there with this guy is that we just had so much fun just traveling all over together.
New Orleans was amazing.
And his second job was investigating the places to eat. And we went to some fabulous restaurants, met some fabulous people. We stayed busy. The food was great. I mean, it was a great experience. And that's one thing that he said. He's like, Carolyn, when will we ever have a chance to do this again? I'm like, probably never. Aww. And you know, the wonderful thing is we really did feel like family. Yeah. I mean, when you share that much with a wonderful group of people, it just does bring people together in a way that you don't even get with family. It was a different kind of family, and it was wonderful. One of my favorite moments that crossed my mind when I was thinking about all of this is, as Maddie, the show hadn't started yet, but the audience had started lining up to go into the service. And somebody came back and told me, Carolyn, there's a woman here who is telling everybody that she is Madeline Monroe's mother. I'm like, really? You have to point her out to me. So they pointed her out to me. And sure enough, when I walked by her, I looked at her and I paused and I was like, Mom? And she went nuts. Everybody went nuts. We had one of the best times that night, just playing with each other as mom and daughter.
Audiences really on that tour were so appreciative.
Yeah.
Oh my God. In Cincinnati, they like adopted us. And
yes. Yeah. And Louisville was awesome. Oh my gosh, that was our first place. It was awesome. Everybody loved it.
I got one story. Do you remember the first night that we met? It was the audition for Kansas City. And we had been right in the beginning. You picked out, not you, Wendy set it up. Wendy and Gus. Remember Gus from Chicago?
Yes.
Gus pulls Woody, me, and Michael, all three of us together. Michael Joyner, Woody Bengo, and me together, and goes, all right, you guys. And he gives us, like, there were supposed to be sides, right? But they weren't sides. It was just like scene, what the scene was going to do. And we were going to improv it. And he's talking to us about our characters. And then you came walking in, everybody's pointing, oh, that's the guy from Los Angeles. That's the guy from Los Angeles. Oh, yeah. You were seeing everybody. You came over to where we were. You looked at us, said hi, and then skipped out. And you went into another room, and you were going through everybody. And everybody was leaving, too. And us three. We hadn't performed for you yet. And I'm like, he's probably already made his decision. And I don't know. I think we're going to get a chance. We're going to get a chance, maybe. We're going to get a chance. And Michael goes, no. We've already got it.
Love him.
And so we go in and we do this scene. And I start talking about track lighting and how it would brighten up the room and everything. You got to get track lighting. And Michael stands up and says, Dominic, I'm going to be the best man. And I went, oh, okay. Sat back down and you went, great, guys, great. And we came outside and nobody else was there. It was us. You waited until the last moment. And I always want to know, did you know we were going to be the three guys right from the beginning, or
which answer would make you feel best? Because I don't fucking remember. Okay. Well, listen, thank you both so much for spending
it's our pleasure.
Your Sunday with me.
Oh,
pleasure.
Yes.
Tony and Tina's Wedding, Creating a Theater Tribe is a production of Virtual Arts. If you like this episode, Please make sure to like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us over on Instagram to see photos and archival materials related to the episodes. Join us next time where we chat with the original Vinnie Black, Kevin Alexander.